This is That One Audition with Alyshia, Ochse.
You started in New York because I couldn't figure out from your IMDb where you were located to start this career. Are you still East Coast right now, or are you LA now?
No, I'm East Coast, baby. I was in Brooklyn up until October 2020. And I just got to a point that I wanted to be closer to my mother as she ages so I could make more memories instead of moments. And then it didn't really matter where I was at because I could be like, hey, Rob, where you at? I'm in Cambodia. Cars out front. So I figured if I could be anywhere and still make an honest dollar, why not be somewhere where I could be around my mom and make memories and,
I love that.
make up that time that I spent pursuing this craft. And finally, now I can come back relaxed and comfortable and share it with her and my sister and brother and things of that nature.
Okay, then talk to me about this New York City starting, because what I love about your journey, which I don't know how often you're sitting staring at IMDb and making assumptions about early on in your career, but you started like the rest of us, right? Where it's like the doorman, this guy, the ancillary characters. I'm curious, it feels to me when I'm looking at your rise, how does Pariah come across? Because even though it comes out Sundance 2011, I know that's got to be earlier because it seems like you start making a professional footprint around 2009, right?
Me?
Yeah.
I thought I started making a professional footprint last year, to be honest.
You like how I put that?
I feel like
You had some toes in the game. You had some toes. Now you have a full footprint.
I'm just getting started, Alyshia. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm just putting my shoes on. One of those situations where you're a 26-year overnight success. I'm so thankful for that job, Pariah. Shout out to D. Rees.
I feel like it starts everything, and I wanted to know if maybe I was wrong and there was something else. But shout out to D. How does D find you? How does that audition go? Because it feels like all of a sudden you get that's a media role, right? We're not like, hey, thanks for coming, woman number one. You're like, I said a word. Like when you have more responsibility, are you auditioning for more things like that? Or is this that indie, that true indie that comes along? They don't have the money. You finally get a crack and you are amazing, obviously.
And Pariah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, if I can recollect, that was a while ago. But
it was.
Pariah, D. Rees reached out to my management, asked me to come and audition at NYU. She was there in the audition, her and the casting director.
Her thesis project, because you said at NYU. Why was
at NYU? Because D went to NYU. She had a relationship at NYU. She's an NYU graduate. Did the project. Thankfully, it got accepted into Sundance. That was my first experience in the Sundance. And actually, it was one of those cases where the role wasn't highlighted with the other characters, like the primary characters are the 1, 2.
Do you mean when they listed in the program, like in Sundance, they'd say who's there and who's not?
My character was not that dude. It was pretty much me investing in myself to go to Sundance. And D was like, look, man, you could stay on the floor if you come, no problem. And I really went based on that. Didn't have no stake in it as far as going around, how they take you to the media hubs, and everybody gets interviewed, going down the carpets. I'd be the guy sitting on the outside watching all the cast go in and then come back out, and then I'd link up with people and then continue on. It was
was the presence of you being there beneficial for a career marker? Because I'm going to catch the audience up. D ends up doing Mudbound, so you got 8 years later.
I was going to get to that, yeah. And really, that was one of the best things I've ever done. I knew like I was hanging on to the basically thread of the other cast because my character wasn't recognized through the Sundance organization or for the festivals. He just wasn't high enough on the call sheet. But I just gambled in myself and went because I felt just by me being in the movie, by me being present at Sundance, I had way more opportunity than sitting on my ass in Brooklyn, New York City. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
I just wanted to be in the environment. So I actually get out there and meet some people and have conversations and just had a great time. Fast forward, D does Mudbound. Actually, the only reason I'm in that movie is because Dee demanded me being in that movie. The producers didn't know who I was. They weren't familiar with me. They wanted other actors at the time who were more recognizable names. And Dee basically said, look, if Rob Morgan doesn't play Hap Jackson, I'm not doing the movie. And that's the only reason. Yeah.
I
That's the
love
only
this.
reason.
Did you have to, obviously, did she have you audition as well? Did she?
She offered it to me
She
and
fought for
actually
that
punched up
offer.
the characters in the script to say, hey, Rob, what's on paper now? Don't worry about that. I'm gonna give you more to work with. I'm gonna flush out the characters even more. I'm so indebted to Dee Rees for throwing me in that way
I
because I'm gonna go you another level. Because ever since Mudbound, Alyshia, I'm thankful to be on your program, but I haven't auditioned. I've been offer only ever since Mudbound.
That's what I was going to ask because I think it changes everything. You're an Oscar nominated A24 film. I'm sure you were offered Bull that you got the
Oh, yeah.
Indie Spirit Award
You talking
for.
about-
So I need to reverse engineer because I'm going to dig into a couple things. So Mudbound, I love this. I love that it's an offer. I love that D fights for you.
Yeah.
And look, we're going to pick into some other things. At the same time, before Mudbound, you're doing Stranger Things, you have Daredevil. Things are starting to pop off in the television realm.
I had auditioned for Stranger Things.
That's what, okay, great. We're going to get to that. I want to hear that
I had
audition.
auditioned for the character that Chris Sullivan had gotten, Benny, and he'd gotten killed in like episode 2 of season 1. And that was the original character I had auditioned for. And Carmen Cuba calls me back and said, wow, we were so impressed with your audition. We want to offer you another character that's even in more episodes. And that's how I got Officer Powell.
Yes.
For season 1 and Stranger Things. So I originally auditioned for a character that was like dead in the second episode. And then they liked the audition enough that they offered me Officer Powell. And I'm still alive. Actually, now I'm the chief. I haven't shot anything for season 5, but I don't know what they're going to do with it. But ultimately, I wound up being the chief.
Okay, so I love this. I love that you auditioned for something else. And this is prior to COVID. So you're going in the room for Stranger Things to do the audition?
Yeah. I'd auditioned with Carmen Cuba in the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me, especially when you're prepping? I know that role. Chris did the show as well, did this one. So we talked about that audition that he had
Chris
actually.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Oh man, he had so much success on This Is Us, and
I know, but
he's not hurting at all.
That specific audition is seeing. I would love to be able to see your take and Chris's take, like side by side, right? Because it's selection, not rejection. How did you handle that audition? Or is there anything that you remember from that audition? Because obviously it's a standout.
From that particular audition, I don't remember anything, to be honest with you, because once I got the offered Officer Powell, I erased all of that.
All of that.
Yeah. Alyshia, I'm thankfully the type of guy that I'm in it, but I'm not of it. So once I do something and once it's over, I get it out of my head. You know what I mean? I don't revel in it. Like even for the audition process that I would do, I got to the point that I would love and embrace rejection so much that it didn't matter to me if I got the job or not, because I knew that what I was doing was the best of what I could give. You know what I mean? Thankfully, I had a survival job at the time. I was working at Bear Stearns while I was pursuing this. So I wasn't starving. So when I walked into the audition rooms, I pretty much was like, look, you need me more than I need you. I'm here to solve your problem. You know what I mean? It's 999 million projects done every day. It's only one Rob Morgan. So once I started walking in there with that chutzpah and that attitude and that mindset, I started booking like crazy. You know what I mean? And also what I did, since we're talking about auditions and stuff, and I really can't talk too much about that because I haven't auditioned in a while by the grace of God. But what I also was doing was I was in mixed martial arts real heavy because I understood that what you need to do is challenge your 5-year-old child in you. you need to look that motherfucker in the face, her or him. Seriously, every day. You need to challenge that motherfucker. And my way of challenging mine was being in mixed martial arts. So we were full contact spar every day and night, right? So when I walked into those audition rooms, I was already solid enough that I knew whoever was behind that desk couldn't beat me. I had
Mm,
already faced my fears every day and night fighting grown men that was pursuing the craft when I was just there to stay in shape. So
yeah.
my connectedness to who I was and my connectedness to my preparation and what I had to offer was so solid. And that's
Yes.
the energy I carried in those rooms with understanding what was on the paper in front of me. I literally, since we're talking about auditions, if somebody was to pull up my auditions, they would see I wore the same two shirts to most 85% of my auditions. Seriously. When I got to the point, I said, look, I'm not going to beat myself up and try to dress like this character. I'm not going to put on what I think this character dresses like and go in there with that. I was like, fuck that. What I'm going to do is I had a custom shirt that was like a soft green. It was a button-up shirt, but it fitted me nicely. The colors popped on my skin, made me pop. And that would be my shirt for any dad, lawyer, police officer, judge, any motherfucking body that would be in a button-up shirt. That was my shirt, right?
Mhm.
Then I had a Banana Republic, like a blood red t-shirt that was soft cotton with a V-neck, something that would show again my form. And I would go in there, that would be the hood guy, bartender number one, whoever that would be. And that's what I would put on. I would not put on different outfits and put my mind wrapped around the fucking clothes. Because my
Yes.
thing was, I'm gonna go in there and show you that I understand the material more than me coming in here trying to be costumes and shit. You see what I'm saying? And
I
that
do.
helped me out a lot. That helped me out a lot. And it got to the point where my shirts would literally be fading under the arms.
From the sweat, from the sweat, cool and
Or
collected right
just some
here and in the
cool
mind.
wearing it. Cool wearing it all the
Yeah.
time. Patches under my arm. And I would still be in that bitch auditioning my ass off with those same two shirts. So I'm
I
trying to figure
love
out
this. And also, what I want to say about the Stranger Things audition, which new
I
actor, I
probably
think,
had on that red shirt. I probably had on
Mhm.
that burning.
And also you went in and auditioned the room, basically. You won the room. It didn't matter if the role wasn't
Permanent.
right for you. It then won you the part thereafter. So I love that the focus is not pick me, choose me. I got my job. It takes a long time, I think, sometimes for an actor to shift into that mentality of here's me and here's what I got. And this is my take. This is my point of view. Take it or leave it. And it's nice to have that side job, that side hustle to give that confidence so that you can actually come in and do the job that's actually required.
They suggest and tell people or suggest to people that you need a survival job. You need
Mhm.
something that you can sustain yourself on, your lifestyle on, and also you need to be economically mindful of how are you living while you're pursuing this. Because that starving artist idea is a bunch of bullshit.
It
Their
is.
whole, oh, I'm a starving artist. Because when I was in New York and I first got down and I was pursuing theater and I was running through the streets eating chicken patties and cocoa bread and juices and trying to be a starving artist. And I was hanging out with the starving artist crowd and shit. And I was literally dead ass broke. And I remember waking up at this one friend's house, and she was like, "Oh, my dad just sent me rent money," and it dawned on me, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Hold on, your dad sent you rent money?" I thought I'm gonna start. We're starving up. We ain't doing it. I thought the artistry is what we was out here living for and dying for it. And man, that moment, bing, my light bulb went off because I was like, "Oh shit, these people got somebody that they could call on." They
Yes.
got somebody they could reach back and say, "Hey, I'm short with rent. Can you help me out, mom, dad?" I didn't have that.
No.
And that moment made me say, "Oh, I need to, one, change my circle, and
Mhm.
two, get off this whole attitude that I'm not a good artist unless I'm starving, because that's a bunch of bullshit."
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I do. I
So
do.
I'm so thankful for that moment that that girl was like, "Oh, my dad just sent me my rent money," because I was like, "Whoa, I ain't got nobody send me that, and my rent is due." All right, see y'all later. Let me get on my P's and Q's. Let me
Yes.
get like what I need to do for
Mhm.
me so that I can sustain myself, or so that I could even pursue this goal and dream, man. But that was a real eye-opening moment. I suggest getting a survival job because that way you can pursue your goal and dream with some dignity. And you won't have to be a desperate looking yes man or woman
Yes.
just because you feel you can't do nothing else unless you get this one job or even if it's below what you want to do. You see what I'm saying? You need to
I
be
do.
some discernment and some dignity and be able to walk in that room with your head up high
Mm.
because that's what they're ultimately looking for. The industry
Well,
is set up to burn you out.
yeah, it
To
is.
burn. It's literally, it is. I know.
Speak to that. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's to burn
really.
you out. The
Mhm.
industry loves doing like this and having millions of motherfuckers jumping at that one piece of chicken and seeing you get tireder and tireder until you fizzle out. And they
Yeah.
love that shit because those are the motherfuckers.
So let me ask you this. As
Yeah.
somebody that had the survival job, was able to still go in, give your perspective, be so solid in your artistry and what you're selling. When does Rob say yes and when does Rob say no? Because, like you just said, the dangling carrot theory and that chasing mentality and that yes man mentality is one way to do the industry. I'm curious how you do your business, especially now since Mudbound and things are offer, right? Or a different kind of things where you're not auditioning. I'm curious, like people have come on before and said like the three things for them that they need to see to say a yes to a project. I'm curious what your criteria is for choosing what you do.
One, I always look at what market is this serving? What
Oh,
market? You know,
okay. Who your
uh,
audience is? Yeah.
oh man. Not only that, but who else is involved? Because when you're working with people like Meryl Streep,
Mm-hmm.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, Vince
Jennifer
Vaughn,
Lawrence. Yes, your list.
McConaughey. Now, if you look right, those names I've mentioned have been in this business solidly for over 30 years. Solidly for over 30 years. When a project that comes across my desk has those type of people attached and the role resonates with me, in my mindset, I say, okay, this is the market I want to be a part of because I would love for my career to be able to be sustained by a market for 30 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into the, oh, you hot today and you gone tomorrow stuff. Like that just doesn't resonate with me. You know what I mean? I'm not into the fast buck. I'd rather slow grind something and be on something that's going to have some legacy or some lifespan that will reach back because the market is growing with it and the market supports it. Now, when I do a project, Tom Hanks' market is looking for me. Meryl Streep's market is checking for me. The market is checking for
You
me.
got Adam
Viola
McKay. You've got
Davis' market,
directors now that are looking for you.
Bullock's market is checking for me. You know what I mean? So, like,
Mhm.
ideally, what I try to do, by the grace of God, too, let me say that first of all. But ideally, what I think is what market is going to support this project? And does the character resonate with me? If both of those check well, I'm good to go. You see what I'm
Good.
saying?
I
Now,
do. Yeah.
and also, I think that's something that actors and actresses should keep in mind because I know we all just want to, everybody's ego want to be fed into. But at the same time, you got to think, is it feeding you McDonald's or is it feeding you a healthy ass home cooked meal?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Are you going to get poison even though it feels good in the moment?
Or it tastes good with them 30,000 herbs and spices?
But is it going to sustain you?
Or
Yeah. Yes.
is it,
And I think that there's so many different techniques and I don't even say strategies. Integrity, I think, is the way to go. What word you lay down at night, you get to say what you want to do and what you want to invite in. And you have to stand confident in that. When you have a survival job, you can stand confident in that and wait for.
Or if you're good with your money. Like survival job, yes, you got to have something, but just even being good with your money, like just because you hit a job and you make X amount of money for this one job, don't feel like you have to live like you getting that money consistently, knowing that if that check isn't coming repeatedly, consistently, you ain't gonna be able to sustain that lifestyle. Live within your means, if not below your means.
Thank
Live
you.
below your means so that you can have some dignity so that when the strike happens, you're not up yelling to the world that you got to sell your house in 3 months. You live in a way that it's, look, man, okay, yes, I'll take the money, but at the same time, I got to be smart with this money. Super smart. Because you could have $1 million projects every day, but if you don't know how to manage that money, if you don't know how to be mindful and smart with that money, it's like you making 15 cents. It don't mean shit.
I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that have gotten that series regular job, that third series regular job, and they're bankrupt because they don't know how to manage their money. So that is a whole other podcast, but you need to get your shit or look at your bills. I really want to get into your like working mind, but the show's called That One Audition. Is there
that one audition? I'll tell you about an audition.
I want to hear it.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From scene study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created The Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
I'll tell you about an audition.
I want to hear it.
It was probably, I don't remember, but it was for a theater role. And it was a case where I guess they were on the fence about offering it to me, but they wanted me to come in anyway. And I think it was a case they just wanted to meet me or something like that. And the audition, I was just so at a point that I didn't feel like learning a whole nother monologue for this audition because I was already working on other stuff. So I was like, look, tell them I got an audition, but I can't. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but my mind is already cluttered, but I will come in and audition. And I walked in and they was like, oh, great, Rob. Okay, cool. What you got? And I did an audition. I did a monologue from this film called Spook Who Sat by the Door. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not. Know how to go.
By Sam Greenfield.
No, what's this monologue about? Yeah.
But the monologue is this cat, and he says, I was born black, I live black, and I'm gonna die probably because I'm black, because some cracker who knows I'm black better than you is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head. I did that, right? And they was looking at me like this. And then I was like, look, I don't mean to rush, but I gotta go. And then I left out.
Did you leave right away? That's amazing.
Because I was actually on the way of doing something else. It was like literally, and I did that because I knew it was like a 30, 40-second monologue that I could just bang out. I still know that monologue till this day. Haven't done that since I'd done this monologue for them in that audition, but that's just so powerful to me. And they actually offered me the job and I turned it down. I still turned it down because I was so busy at the time. And I love theater, but I knew theater just took so much of a commitment and I didn't have it at the time. But I still remember just like thinking, I'm gonna go in there and really do whatever the fuck I want to do. And they could take it or leave it. I was at a space. It didn't matter if I got it or not because I was already working on stuff that was so fulfilling.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that was one of probably the most liberating ass auditions I've ever done. And then still got offered the role, but I couldn't do it. I was like,
It's
well,
amazing.
yeah.
At
So
what point in your career does this fall, this one?
this was probably like right around before Mudbound, probably right before Mudbound. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to circle back to Mudbound, but I'm going to give you the option to choose any project that you've done since Mudbound. Because, like I was saying before, there's the audition muscle, which you did the Olympian marathon of auditioning and you don't have to do it anymore, which is great.
Let me justify where me becoming an offer only came from. And I got a
I would
shout
love.
out to my man, Kyle Tequila, who is one
Okay.
of the producers on Mudbound. Kyle is really the only reason I became offer only. Because if it was up to the agents and stuff I was with at the time, they wanted me to keep auditioning. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna take this advice right here. I feel good taking this advice because again, I was comfortable. I had smart investment things going on. So I was comfortable, right? We were at Sundance and getting all this recognition and stuff with the movie. And Kyle comes up to me, he says, "Hey Rob, you're off only now, right?" And I was like, I, I don't, you tell me. Yeah, after this, I think you should be offer only. Just like that. And walks away. And I was like, fuck it. I'm offer only. That's literally how that happened. And I told my agent, yeah, I want to be offer only. And ever since then, just like that, that's
It's
exactly how
worked
it happened.
out.
Because he was like, you're offer only now, right? And I was
Hmm.
like, I don't know. He's, yeah, you should be offer only now. And then walks off. And that's how it happened.
Look, there's a difference between development and relevant. To have a movie like Mudbound, you also have other projects. You are relevant. They can go look at your work. Like you said, you've now created a market that is calling for you. Amazing. That's a different level of the career. I think a lot of people aspire to get to that place where you're not trying to fight at that, grabbing at that dangling carrot.
Mhm.
And now the respect of come play in our playground. What are you going to do? So
I
this,
mean, it was definitely like a move that I had to make because and anybody else, I feel, was really just after I was given the idea that I could do that, I sat in it and felt like, yeah, let's be off on whoever want to play with me, they'll come. If they don't, I'll be all right either way. You know what I mean?
I do.
And sometimes they'd say, hey, Rob, come and audition for this. And they'd be like, nah, he ain't auditioning. All right, the director wants to meet with him. Can we do a Zoom call? Can we do this? Next thing you know, I do that. I got the job. Back then. Now they'll just say, hey, XYZ director would love, or can you Zoom call, meet with them? And that's pretty much how it is now. But yeah, it was a time, man. I had to be like, nah, I'm cool with not accepting the auditions. I'm cool with turning down the auditions and stuff because
Good.
Kyle had imprinted in my head. And I'm thankful
Thank
to
you,
him for that
Kyle.
because I wouldn't have thought that. I
Yeah,
wouldn't. And now I'm just so thankful to him because it really made stuff so much peaceful.
better. Yes.
Peaceful,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna dig
Until
into
you got to
some.
negotiate. It's peaceful until you
Yeah.
start negotiating.
But that's what your manager and your lawyers for. That's what they're gonna do. They got that. Brittany's great. I love her. I love putting her on
I
for
love Brit.
projects.
And Britt and I, we were together first in the beginning, and then we had a maybe 4 year departure from each other. And then we just got back together probably 3 years ago.
Oh, I
And
love hearing that because that was gonna be one of my questions. I'll just get to it now. What is your business acumen to not carry an agent and just be with a manager?
for me, it's peace of mind for me. I just felt like the agents that I've had didn't take me serious. And I felt like a lot of what was happening was just them answering the phone in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of ways. And whatever vision that I wanted to impart, it always seemed to like just be a struggle. And so I felt a lot more peace of mind for who I am and the personality type that I am. I like winning. I'm a winner. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I don't like sitting on the sideline, piddling thumbs. I don't like carrying dead weight. And when I start feeling like when my chess game starts fledgling, because I'm a chess player. So my chess rating starts going down. I start looking at the people and shit around me. That means I'm not at
Yes,
peace of
Rob.
mind. That means
Thank you.
that means I'm not thinking clearly. That means I'm not having fun in my fun time. So if I can't clearly play chess and to the level that I know I can play, as soon as my chess rating starts fucking up, I feel like somebody around me fucking up. And most of the time it was the agents to me, unfortunately.
Yes.
And
And
so,
thank you for being honest about that. I think people listening to this, they're going to have a lot of questions. So I'd be remiss not to ask, what was the protocol for you and Brittany getting back together? Was that something that you did a reach out, or did she do a reach out? Because it's part of the business and how we handle our relationships with our team.
Britt and I, we always was close, even when we weren't, when she wasn't at the agency and I wasn't at the agency. She would reach out, like when she saw a post about something like Last Black Man in San Francisco, I think she felt close to, because she's a Californian kid, Bay Area kid. She had an attachment to that movie, reached out, say hello. Other things she would reach out, say, then I would reach out, say hello to her from time to time. And then when I was in LA, I wasn't excited about the team that I had at the time. And Britt, I forgot what happened. Something, I saw her post on Instagram or something, and I told her I was in California. She was like, let's do lunch. And so then we met back up over lunch, and I was just explaining to her, and I didn't have a manager at the time. And so I brought her on as the manager because I really felt more of a connection to her. Anyway, we had a working relationship from the past, and she knew
Yeah.
me, I knew somewhat of her. And the team that I had, I was thrusted in without any type of real deal research and connection. It was puzzled together by the managers I was with at the time. So these people didn't know me from a can of paint. They probably, and I never felt like they took me serious. And when anybody don't take me serious, I'm the type of brother, I have no problem picking my plate up and moving to another table or sitting at my own goddamn table. You know what I mean? I
I
have
love
no
that.
issues with that. So
Thank you for letting me ask that question, because I think I get a lot of messages constantly. They're like, how should I approach my agent or manager? Or my agent and manager and I broke up, but I want to circle back and see if they're like interested again, or how do I handle that? And I do think it's organic. And I do think having your teammates know you is the best way to do business. So they know how to sell you. And I think earlier on in your career, you get caught up in the desperation or the hierarchy of just, can I be on your roster, please? Get me an audition. And then that needs to shift, I think, for the longevity of the career. Somebody to understand you, know how to push certain projects. Like, she knows you, so she knows how to go out to certain projects to get you an offer or to track certain things for you. You're building a career relationship. So I love that.
yeah, I'm way more comfortable with Brittany on just having a
Yeah.
manager. You know what I mean?
And that's all you
Also,
need is somebody is fielding phone calls and making phone calls on your behalf. But like,
when I
that's
was working with Leo and Jennifer, they had me in a room and they was asking me about my team situation, and I had a manager and an agent at the time. They both looked at me and said, "Get rid of one of them." And I was like, "Huh? You don't need both of them. Whichever one you like the most, whichever one you're tighter with, stay with one. You don't need both of them. You're giving 10% away for nothing." Literally, both of them, just like that, and then went right back to reading like it was nothing. And I was like, "Okay, I can see that too." You
wow.
know, all right. I got that advice from people again who are in
Hmm.
it, been in it. Uh,
Right.
and also, just to give you another gem, is when I'm around people that I'm working with that had a career that I admire, people that have been in it for decades and still in it. One thing I'll ask them, like Jonathan Banks, I'll be like, "Hey, Jonathan, what one bit of advice can you give me to help me sustain a career nearly as close as yours?" He just said, "Know your worth, know your
Mm.
worth." And that was it, right? I asked Don Johnson, I say, "Don, give me a tip." He said, "Keep working, baby, keep working." I asked Leo, "Hey, man, give me a tip." He said, "Hey, just be grateful." I asked Meryl Streep, "Hey, Meryl, what can you?" She said, "I swim a mile a day."
That's what she said.
Yeah, she said, "I swim
Yeah.
a mile a day." And man, me being around these people and getting those little tidbits and seeing what makes them tick and stuff and being able to incorporate it in my journey, it's been the best thing ever, man. It's been the best thing ever.
That is the best thing ever. So then I'm going to turn it on you. You gave everybody else's piece of advice. I want to dig into, if you'll let me, process, because you're not auditioning anymore. I actually was going to ask about Don't Look Up because it's Adam McKay. It's tonally different than your amazing body of work over here that Tom Hanks can call or anybody can call and be like, I've seen you do this. I want you for this. I want you over here in this drama land or this and that. Adam McKay, it's an offer. Other than reading the script, and you're getting ready to go play ball, right? With some awesome people that you want to be in the market with.
In the height of COVID.
In the height of COVID.
Like this, looking at each other. So I actually got robbed of an opportunity in a lot of ways because, but I'm thankful. I'm pleased with the work we put on screen. But at the same time, as restricted as we was, I even pat ourselves on the back even more. You know what I mean?
I do. I listened to the podcast. They did a complimentary podcast of how you guys made Don't Look Up. I don't know if you were privy to this information or knew about it, but the podcast is amazing because it's all behind the scenes of you actually making the show and the crises that were happening during COVID. It's a great podcast. Shout out here. But I loved that. But I'm curious, how do you prepare to go to set now? And I like Don't Look Up, but you can choose any project that you want. You've read the script. How do you start working? How does Rob Morgan work script analysis wise? Like, how are you creating? So when you go to set, like you said, it's a height of COVID. You're like, hi, Adam McKay. Here's what I'm doing today. No?
And they're like, hey, Rob. All right, action. Okay.
They trust you. So what are you doing in your crafting and your building? Even if it's just one or two things that you throw out, I'm curious.
Man, one of my favorite things to do is learn the lines first. Learn the world, the lines, learn all that first. Get it verbatim. I respect the writers. I just get the lines down first. And then I run lines with doing body activity. So I'm an active guy. So I work out, I hit the heavy bag while I'm running my lines. I do stuff while running my lines, getting it in my body. You know what I mean? And also getting my preparation to the point that I'm comfortable enough to know that this is actually my existence right now. I know these words. These words is what's moving me. I don't have to think, oh shit, I don't know my lines. I think, yes, I'm so prepared right now that all I have to do is live in this and move with these words. First, learn the lines, then I try to just get them in my body. And if it's a time crunch, because sometimes you might get the script 2 weeks before you got to go and start working on something. I listen, I learn through listening. So what I'll do is I'll record myself saying the lines and stuff and the other characters' lines. And then I'll walk around and listen to them and just listen to them repeatedly, listening to them while looking at the script, listening to them, reading the script, listening to them. And that helps me when it's like something I got to do fast.
That's amazing. That's helpful. Last piece of advice on how you handle something like this. People write in about this a lot. I've been in this lane for the last few years, which was really nice, where half of my projects are auditions, half are offers.
Nice.
When it's
Woo!
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice when it's nice when you have a body of work behind you that can help people see certain things, because the auditions can be limiting in some ways, especially when in the self-tape arena where you're not having that interaction with the director. And I do a lot of film as well, but people ask me this all the time, and I love asking other people that are in this boat, the director meetings. So when you get to this level of offer only, or you find yourself in this lane, how do you handle your director meetings? Do you have a way? They're probably all different. I know they are. Every director is different. What is your business acumen when you're sitting with the director of a project that you would like to participate in? How do you handle the meetings?
I just had one yesterday with this brother named Nacho Arenas for his film Blow the Horn, which is a phenomenal script, very unique. But I just be the same background you have here.
Yeah.
The world we're in. Read the script. If I have time to read it, I read the script. And by me reading the script, I'll see, all right, what do I understand about the character from that one read? I don't try to get too like I don't meld over it and all that. I just read it one good time, get an understanding, and then we have a meeting and I just show up as myself, man. I just show up being me. I figure the interest is already there, so we don't have, because we wouldn't be on the Zoom call, the interest wasn't already there. So I don't feel like I have to push in anything like that. I just pretty much show up and listen. And honestly, most of the time, they love hearing, they're the ones talking. All you gotta do is they sit there, oh, Rob, and yeah, and then I got a dog, and then my daughters, and yeah, and sometimes just go boating, and yeah, and then you ever been to the mountains? Oh, let me tell you, the mountains, and yeah, I like mountains. Most of the time, you just show up and just be cool and be yourself, because I think the meeting is more about seeing how you all connect and how you all relate with each other so that you can carry that energy to the set. You know what I mean? Nobody don't want to be working with no
Absolutely.
asshole. Nobody want to be working with
Absolutely.
nobody that they can't be open and honest and free with, because we're already ass naked and vulnerable doing these projects, telling these stories as characters. Most of the time, I would say, from my experience, most of my director meetings have been more about, let's hear each other talk. Let's hear each other's voices. Let's look in each other's face. Let's see if we want to even work with each other for the next 3 to 5 months. So
Absolutely. I think that's the best way to handle it. And I just am so grateful to hear you also articulate that. I think more so than not, it is exactly that. Can we work together? How do you work? Are you the kind of person who's a yeller? Are you wanting somebody who's more collaborative? Like, just the interview is just as much for you, the actor, as it is for the director. Because I'm
yeah.
sure there might be some meetings where you walk away and you're like, I don't know if I trust that director. You need to trust. You're developing a pattern and a relationship of trust in that initial meeting. So that's what I've always defaulted on, but I love hearing what other people do as well. Okay, my
Yeah.
last question, and you've dropped so many gems of business sense already,
Mhm.
but is there something other than the survival job or something you wish you knew about the business before Kyle came up to you and was like, you are offer only? In those earlier years that you wish, just the business side of it, not even the audition, or understanding how this industry works, that would give some insight to actors that are still on that road of auditioning and trying to get a name for themselves, or try to have a Kyle in their corner that's like, you are offer only now. I love that.
Man, I would say just develop the mindset of understanding what's meant for you is meant for you. You are not missing out on anything that's not meant for you. Have fun
Amen.
celebrating your friends' wins. Have fun looking at other people win while you're still grinding, because all that does is the universe brings that energy right to you. You know what I mean? Don't uh, look at yourself as not enough. If you know you put in the work, then you're more than enough. Now, if you're sitting around bullshitting and you know you lackluster and you're not really investing and you're not really committing, and you know you get lower results, then you know you need to look at that and say, what do I need to turn around so that I can get better results? But if you are investing in what you really want, desire to do, let the universe know it, move towards it with a healthy mind, spirit, emotional heart, physical, keeping yourself intact, because the idea is you want to outlast the no's. We are going to hear no. But if you're not in shape, or if you're not in mental aptitude to perform, or if you're not even prepared when you start getting yeses, what good are you? So you got to keep yourself up so you can outlast the no's. I think that's one of the best things I've ever realized about the business. And then you got to love and embrace rejection. If you're going to let rejection beat you down and throw you in a corner and you cry and expect people to come and pick your ass up, then this business isn't for you. You got to love and embrace rejection like that beautiful woman you want to get to. But every time you go, she says no. But sometimes you get just a little bit closer every time, a little bit closer, until the point where she's, you know what? Yes, God damn it. Now, what are you going to do? And you better do it right. You know what I mean? You got to look at it like, you got to love and embrace rejection to the point that you just say, okay, not today, rejection, no problem. I'll be back tomorrow. Oh, I got a little closer, but that's okay. Okay, no problem. I'll be back tomorrow, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And have fun. You got to love and embrace your struggle too. And you got to have fun in it. PMA, positive mental attitude. You
I
got to
love
approach this shit
that.
with the PMA. You know what I mean? Because
PMA. Yeah. When I teach, I call it PSA, where I'm like, what's your positive self assessment right now on what you just did? Because
PMA, positive mental attitude. And
I
then
love that.
if you're going to beat yourself up, you got to use a feather. Don't use a brick. You got enough people throwing bricks at you. Why are you going to beat yourself with the brick? Beat yourself with a feather so you can get up and then go out and then achieve what you really want to do. And then also, when I get around people that I feel, hey, I can learn something from you, ask them what kind of books you read. One book I would suggest is The Tipping Point. It's not about acting and shit like that, but it's this brother named Malcolm Gladwell, and he has this book called The Tipping Point. And me reading that book at the time that I read it, it was so instrumental in me even digging deeper and going because I understood the tipping point. You see what I'm saying?
I do. I read that book. I love that book. Yeah. I love Malcolm. He can do
Yeah,
no wrong.
tipping point is one that would definitely, I would suggest that. And then also Born to Run, the author, I think it's James McDougall, Born
Okay.
to Run. But that book is nothing about acting, but it will illustrate the human spirit of resilience and how we all have it, how we can tap into it. You know what I mean? And it's all themed around running, how we're born to run. But somehow me reading that book also just made me say, damn, I could do so much more. I could push so much harder.
I do.
Those are the two I would leave. But yeah, ask people that you admire, what kind of books do you read?
And then go on your
One.
merry way. Rob, thank you. I have to say, I didn't even, sometimes when I interview people, it's very similar to when I interviewed Lawrence Fishburne. I'm going to put you in the same category. We went all the way up to his point of his career where he stopped auditioning, which is when he was nominated for the Emmy, the Oscar, and the Golden Globe, I think the same year.
Wow.
And when you have a dense footprint, I'm going to use that like I did earlier. When you do have a dense footprint, even though you think you're just getting started, it's really interesting to be able to dig into people's careers to see when they have a tipping point, when things start to shift, whether what mentally is happening, how they're serving themselves up, how they're respecting their own worth, who were those light givers along your path to make that a concrete way of living. So thank you for letting me dig in. And also, what a joy it is to watch you work. I get to interview people weekly, and sometimes I can get really caught up in the research of it because it's just beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you, Alyshia.
Yeah. Thank you. Where can everybody find you? And if it's not on socials, you have so much stuff hitting the screens, and I can go to your IMDb if you need me to go bump. When is Teacup already airing right now? I
Yeah,
didn't watch that one.
the last two episodes will drop tomorrow on Peacock, episode 7 and 8, and those are the finales.
Okay. And then when does The Rivals?
Zaya King,
Yes.
that's the movie I did with Matt McConaughey, which was our 30-year circle back because my very first project was background on Contact, and I ad-libbed some lines, and they got in there in the movie, and that's literally what set me off on my journey of acting because I went to this open call chasing a woman. She didn't get booked for it. I got booked for 5 days, didn't even know what the hell I was doing, didn't know anything about acting, didn't know nothing. I just basically go catch buses to get dropped off at sets. I'm walking around for 3 days just listening to people, not knowing anything about acting at all. Then finally, I'm sitting there on the fourth day and I'm like, I want my mom to see me. How can my mom see me? I don't think I did anything for my mom to see me yet. And then I see them place a guy with long white hair right over there. And I tell myself, I need to go right there. And I literally went and stood in that spot for 5 hours, didn't move. Next thing you know, they started building the set around me. And then the guy with long white hair pops up. His name is Jake Busey, Gary Busey's son. It's the scene where Jodie Foster goes in to ask the president for more money for outer space explorations. And they tell us that as background. And I'm sitting there, oh, wow. And then first they say, all right, background, you're going to mime. And so they can get their lines first. I didn't know anything about that, but I'm miming, doing like this. Say, background, now you can make noise. And I was like, oh, shit, I can make noise? And so instinctively, I don't know what came over me, but other people around me, they were just making inaudible noises that made no sense. They were doing stuff like that. I was like, look, I grew up in DC. If this woman came here to ask for millions of dollars for outer space explorations, when we're already taking books out of school, taking art programs out of school, taking all kinds of extra activities from the kids, how would I feel? So they was like, action. I started yelling at Jodie Foster. There ain't nothing out of space. Get a real job. Don't waste my tax dollar. And then Jodie looking at me like, what the fuck? And action. There ain't nothing out of space. Get a real job. Don't waste my tax dollar. And Jake Busey looks down at me. He said, you're creative. I was like, I'm just trying to get some burn, man. And he's like, next thing you know, I see a microphone pop up over my head. And I'm like, oh, shit. And so they're like, action. And I give it to them. Get a real job. Ain't nothing out of space. Don't waste my tax dollar. And so, all right, that's the scene. Cut. Check it, whatever. Check the gate.
Check the gate.
Now I know the language, but back then I ain't know shit. So there's, all right, cool. And I look over there and I just see what I know is Video Village now. But at the time, I didn't know what it was. I just walk over there. I just saw people over there huddled around monitors. So I just walk over there and I literally, Robert Zemeckis was sitting there looking at the monitor. I lean over Robert Zemeckis' shoulder and I look at myself on the screen and I go, oh shit, that's me. Just like that. And Robert said? He looks up at me, he goes like that. And that was it. Didn't know anything.
Did they bump you up? Did they pay you more? Did they tap
Warner Brothers owe me money. You owe me money. You owe me money.
They do.
Right. It was actually, they don't owe me anything because it was the moment that made me realize that's what I have to do. Because fast forward 6 months later, movie comes out. I go to the theater by myself, didn't know what to expect. And I'm watching. The next thing you know, I hear my voice. And then I see my face and I hear my voice and see my face together. And I'm like, oh, and I jump up out the seat like that. And then I come down, I'm like this, because I'm in the theater. Oh God, hope nobody saw me. And then I'm thinking, I gotta do this. That's what I gotta do. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And that was the moment that made me realize that's what I wanted to become, was an entertainer, actor. I didn't know what the fuck to call. I didn't know what I was going. I was like, man, I just got to do that. And so literally, I went to New York City with a suit in the bag and the clothes on my back, and rented a room for $75 a week in Harlem. And
figured it the fuck out.
Figured it the fuck out.
Rob, did you tell Matthew this story?
Oh, when we worked together on the Rival of Mziah King, I was like, man, this is a full circle, man. Like, you were my very first acting job, period, 30 years ago. And now here I am working with you again. He said, hey, man, I've been working 30 years to be back here working with you, man.
I love him so much.
That's how you want. Hey, man, I've been working 30 years to come back here working with you. You so cool, man. So cool.
He's a cool one. I got to do the first season of True Detective with him. And I have to tell you what, there is nothing like sharing the screen with him or playing a game of tennis with him. It's joy. It's why we do this. It's like we're getting to play in the market like that. McConaughey's market, and talk about somebody who took his career, right? He was doing some stuff he didn't want to do anymore. So he said no for 2 years until Dallas Buyers Club and True Detective comes out. So that's what I love about this podcast is we can share things at different parts of our careers that gives somebody else the permission to do the same. Like today, you gave permission for people to say no. You gave permission to not have people be starving artist mentality anymore. You gave permission for people know your worth. And show up and have the career that you want to have and have the people on your team that you want to have. because that gives peace, and it shows in your work. It just does. It just does. You're a gem. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Truly.
Thank you. All my pleasure.